May 23, 1618. Furious Protestant nobles drag Catholic imperial officials to the edge of a castle window in Prague and push them out. This single act of political violence ignited the 30 Years' War, a conflict that killed millions and devastated the Central European continent. This violence represented the breaking point for a state that had spent 2 centuries challenging the dual authority of the Holy Roman Emperor and the Pope. The Kingdom of Bohemia was a historical anomaly, a Slavic-speaking nation sitting right in the middle of the Germanic Holy Roman Empire. While neighboring territories assimilated into the imperial structure, Bohemia maintained its own distinct laws, its own language, and religious identity. To understand how this peripheral duchy rose to dominate European politics, only to be completely dismantled by it, we have to look at how it was built. In the 9th century, Bohemia's first contact with Christianity came from the East, through Slavic rites that utilized a language the local population actually understood. But political pressure from Western neighbors eventually forced the Bohemians to abandon these Eastern traditions in favor of the Latin rites used by the Roman Catholic Church. Replacing the Slavic liturgy with Latin created a disconnect between local religious identity and the international church hierarchy. Because this transition was managed through political alliances rather than local choice, ecclesiastical obedience and national autonomy became inseparable issues in the Bohemian courts. By the 14th century, Bohemia reached its zenith. King Charles IV rebuilt Prague as a Gothic masterpiece, establishing it as the administrative and cultural seat of the Holy Roman Empire. In 1356, he issued the Golden Bull. This legal decree codified Bohemia's elite status, granting its king a permanent vote in the election of the Holy Roman Emperor. The kingdom backed up this political power with massive economic output, driven by intensive silver mining and a rapidly growing industrial sector. To sustain growth, Bohemian kings encouraged mass migration from Germanic lands, creating a demographic divide. The resulting economic disparity gave the Catholic Church and German settlers disproportionate power over the native Czechs, who were largely excluded from the kingdom's wealth. You now have a population facing deep economic inequality, ruled by a culturally distinct elite, and carrying a historical suspicion of foreign religious control. The tension broke at Charles University in Prague. A rector named Jan Hus began preaching against clerical corruption and championing the rights of native Czechs to manage their own affairs. The Catholic Church responded by summoning Hus to a council and burning him at the stake for heresy in 1415. His death triggered the Hussite Wars. Outraged Czech peasants and nobles rose in a massive rebellion against the Pope and the Emperor. The Hussites defended their territory using wagon forts, defensive rings of chained carts that used early firearms to break the momentum of heavy imperial cavalry. By forcing the Catholic Church to sign a formal compromise, Bohemia became the first imperial territory to successfully defend its existence as a separate religious entity. In 1526, a twist of dynastic fate placed the Bohemian kingdom under the rule of the ultra-Catholic House of Habsburg. For the next century, the Habsburgs worked to strip away Bohemia's autonomy. They moved administrative power to Vienna and began a systematic campaign to force the population back into the Catholic fold. When those officials were thrown from the castle window in 1618, it was the final, desperate reaction to a century of political and religious suppression. This rebellion culminated in 1620 at the Battle of the White Mountain, just outside the walls of Prague. The battle lasted just 2 hours. The imperial forces of Emperor Ferdinand II completely dismantled the Bohemian army. Ferdinand executed 27 Bohemian leaders and outlawed Protestantism. The kingdom was stripped of its autonomy and absorbed into the Austrian Empire as a mere province. The same drive for autonomy that defined Bohemia's golden era eventually provoked the imperial crackdown that dismantled the kingdom's independence for the next 300 years.